Brett Lorin, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the bus.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I'm glad to finally get on with you guys.
We're glad to have you. We should start one. Brett Lorin from Too Tall Sports Podcast. We were on. He was gracious enough to have us on his podcast, and now we're going full circle, and we're having him join the bus, ride the bus. I don't know exactly if we've settled on how we're going to say people joining our podcast, but he's on the bus.
Love it, man. I like being on. That was back in the day. We all were in the minors at some point, so
yeah.
We all went through it.
Absolutely. Just to give a quick background, I will say Brett Lorin drafted in the 5th round in 2008 by the Seattle Mariners, played 6 years in the minors. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is what the internet told me. 6 years in the minors, also played for the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Arizona Cardinals organizations, and played 1 year in indie ball, where he played in indie ball, Long Island Ducks, making all three of us former Long Island Ducks baseball players.
Yes.
And that's your intro.
Arizona Diamondbacks. No, I could have tried out for the Arizona Cardinals.
What did I say? I said Cardinals?
You said Cardinals, yeah.
Oh, man. Should I try it again? Or should we just suck it? I think it's like I got football in my mind. I think that's why I was looking at football beforehand. I apologize. The Arizona Diamondbacks. The Arizona Cardinals are not a baseball team. I know that as someone who co-hosts a sports podcast. I know that the different sports teams. So I apologize for that.
Of course. No, I don't care.
But Brett, welcome.
Thank you.
That was my long way of saying welcome, Brett.
No, it's always fun to get on podcasts with people, and we're both. And some of these podcasters out there are not former athletes, so I feel like we're in a different category. We actually went through it, so it's good to talk to other guys that went through it also.
I agree. Well, also, I mean, because one of the places I wanted to start was just kind of how you got into podcasting. You obviously started, I think, well before us, and how that kind of transition from playing into podcasting go, and where you decided you wanted to start a podcast, or how you decided you wanted to start a podcast. Is it something you were thinking about your entire career? Was it something that just happened near the end of it? Like, kind of go into that process of how you started the Too Tall Sports podcast.
I think I always wanted to try it, like just a buddy of mine, kind of like you guys are doing, just kind of funny conversations and more of just a fun show. But then once the pandemic hit, I don't know, I just had some more time. I got laid off from the job I had, so I had a lot of time. So I was just like, well, I always kind of wanted to get into it. And one of my buddies was like, hey, let's try it. So we did, and we were doing it together for a while, and then he kind of fell off. So I just took it over myself. And I don't know, I had the network of guys just like you from playing with people and, former coaches, and it kind of just took off to the point where, I committed to it. And they say, like, once you get past the first 7 episodes, then you like really bought in and you stay with it. So once I have a buddy that does the editing, which is great. So it helps me out a lot. I just have to book the guests and write the script for my episodes and stuff like that. But it kind of just started with people I know, former teammates, my own network. And then I started LinkedIn messaging people, and I'm starting to get people that I don't know. So I'm kind of expanding out into just general sports people, whether it's writers or sports psychologists or anybody that's involved in sports or companies involved in sports. So it's been fun. I enjoy it. It's kind of also given me a chance to reconnect with old teammates too. So It's always fun to talk to everybody.
Yeah. Finding a new way to use like the existing network of guys that, I like that.
I was going to say, I've noticed you've had a very interesting, I feel like, string of guests the past, month or so, from CEOs of companies to I was talking with David before you got on, is that I grew up somewhat of a North Carolina basketball fan, and you recently had Rashad McCants on, who, if you're a fan of North Carolina basketball, in the early to mid 2000s, I don't remember exactly what it was, who Rashad McCants is. And I was like, that was really cool. That was
that was probably the biggest guest I've gotten so far.
Yeah. How did that come about?
From LinkedIn networking. Like, I'm in a sports networking group that I got invited to by somebody that's like does charity events for athletes. And we meet every once in a while. And he happened to be one of the guys that was on there one time. So I messaged him, just shot in the dark. Like, I did not expect him to do it. And he was like, yeah, for sure, I'll do it. I'll tell my story. He had that controversial book about the academic fraud that went on at North Carolina. So the great thing about he let it rip. Like, he did not hold back at all. So it's awesome because it's good for content wise, but man, he definitely gave it all. So it was cool to have a guy like that, a big name like that. That was kind of the first real, I haven't had any NBA guys on. So that was really cool for me.
Yeah. I might have to send Rashad McCants a LinkedIn message now.
He's great, man. He and he gets it too. He's not going to be. He's really accessible. Like he's just. I was shocked how available he was to like do that and tell his story and be really honest about his experience and all that stuff. It was pretty cool to have him on.
Yeah. I think that's kind of similar to like the Tim Dillard episode we had, D-Wash, where I know David had played with him, but we had wanted to get him on. We were fans, and like David said he reached out to him, and like within 10 minutes he like texted back. He was like, "Yeah, I'm good. Like, when you want to do it?" And I was like, "Oh shit, was it?"
I think you realize sometimes like you don't know until you ask. Like you just what's the worst that can happen? They say no, okay, then you move on to the next person,
or they don't say anything, and then you
those are actually the worst, right? You're like, well, maybe I still got a chance. They never respond. I know, I hate that.
Yeah, but ultimately you're working from a no, right? Like until you ask.
Especially with a big name like that. I mean, pure luck if they
see those ones are easier. I feel like those ones are easier to be like, what's the worst that can happen? I think where me and David struggle more, David, because he reaches out to a lot of people, is when it's like kind of a friend, and then it's like, oh, if they just don't respond, like that makes me feel really shitty.
That one hits the ego a little bit. That
hurts. Someone you thought was a friend, maybe.
Yeah, I think what also is good is like people want to tell their story, especially former athletes. Especially a guy like Rashad McCants, where the media has just, whether right or wrong, crushed him for doing what he's doing. To give him the chance, like to tell his story from him, I think people like obviously talking about their own story. So if you get that, then it's way, I think they are more than willing to. This is how it really went from my perspective.
Yeah, I don't want to steal from your podcast, and obviously, if you should check out the Too Tall Sports podcast and maybe specifically listen to that episode. But I guess I don't really know much about the story that he's being killed for by the media.
So basically what happened was when he was at North Carolina, according to him, they were having papers done for them. Like just, it was real easy. Kind of like some of the football stories you hear about where there's like the tutors are doing everything for them. Problem was he kind of came out and was the whistleblower for all this stuff that happened, but it was in like 2014. So a lot of people were like, well, you benefited from the university. Why are you doing that? And I had never heard this argument before. He was like, I didn't benefit at all. I was only there to play basketball. I learned nothing while I was there. So how did I really benefit? And a lot of these guys that go to the league are uneducated and don't know how to handle money. So what are you really helping them? You're just keeping them eligible so they can play in March Madness and hopefully win a championship and bring more money in. So that was his whole argument. The problem is a lot of the guys that he played with just kind of put everything under the bus, or I guess under the rug, and he was the one who brought it out. So it was just like he got killed for it. Yeah, under the bus. Yeah, he got crushed for it for being like the guy. It's kind of like with the Astros when Mike Fiers said the thing about the Astros. Like he's telling the truth, but no one wants to hear it.
The whistleblower thing in general is always tough, especially in sports, because it's almost like Fight Club, right? The first rule of a clubhouse is nothing leaves, the clubhouse type of thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then someone is the whistleblower, and it seems like, at least, talk about the Fiers or Rashad McCants, is like they're in the right?
They
like
are.
They're expressing wrongdoing, but there is that. I remember when Fiers came out about the Astros, my first thought was like, oh man, you shouldn't talk about stuff that's going on in the clubhouse or whatnot.
Right. He won a World Series.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was my thing. It's like, oh, you didn't say it during the World Series,
Right.
It evolved obviously as more information came out. I was like, oh, that, I respect him for doing that. But then I think that is what's weird about a whistleblower, is that it is kind of weird that they're in the right. They're exposing wrongdoing, but there is that. Right. I think a lot of people like, oh man, I don't like that you said anything about it. I didn't want to know.
Exactly. Nobody really wants to it is the truth, but it's like, well, you didn't say anything when you were in it, of course. And of course, none of the Astros got punished for it. They all got their playoff bonuses. They all got their rings. So it's just like, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
I feel like I keep cutting off D-Wash. I was gonna.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't have that much that you guys didn't already say. Like the no, I don't know. It's tough because, on one hand, you got to point out, you point out bad stuff that's going on. Really hard to do while you're in it. But then, of course, it's really easy for people outside of the situation to kind of like pick apart your motives, once it's happened after the fact.
Right. And he has to go back in that clubhouse. Yeah.
Right.
And that's why once you leave the team, it's much easier. You're doing it from afar, right? You don't have to go back in that clubhouse again and face those guys. So, but the whole thing, it was so shady what they did anyway.
Well, I was going to say that's why, because I feel like the number one thing that was said early on about the Mike fires was like, well, why didn't you say this while you were with them type of thing? It's like, well, I mean, try to understand how uncomfortable that would be for someone to do that. Like, you know, it's easy to say from afar when you're on your couch, like, oh, you should have just said it when you saw what was going on. It's like, well, still wanted a job, still had to see these people every day, type of thing.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Can I just really quick appreciate Brett obviously coming on, but I realize I have not asked my co-host D-Wash how the season's going so far. Obviously, the only one still playing, and I am kind of curious of kind of how that experience has been so far, getting back into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely stoked to be playing, back to playing, getting back into the routine. We just got back from the road. We had an off day yesterday, but we had 6 games on the road before that. Went from Gary to Sioux City. Was it Sioux City, Iowa?
Yeah.
Tough place. And
tough place to play.
Tough place. But had some really good games. The Milkmen are playing well. We're 4-2 so far.
Where this is going.
We got the home opener tonight. We have the ring ceremony. We won because we won the championship last year, so that's exciting. But yeah, it's going well. It's definitely good to be playing again.
Brett, does that bring you back to that time of traveling and starting a new season and so much possibilities and all that stuff,
I think just you talking about like just coming back from a road trip and you got to play. Just the grind of baseball is just it never ends, man. Yeah. And especially in indie ball, I don't know how the accommodations are for your team, but are they pretty decent?
So we do have top notch, the apartments and host family setups that we have here in Milwaukee or Franklin, wherever is really, really good. Nice. Yeah, I consider myself lucky. I think all of us, I can say confidently that all of us have played in places where the living situations can be rough. No, the living situation is good here. We did have just a classic thing that we can all relate to. We had an 11 a.m. game for a getaway day in Gary. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's an 11 a.m. game, but at least we'll have this 7-hour, or I think it's like a 9-hour bus trip. At least, now we'll get in at a reasonable time. Sure enough, 11 a.m. game goes 12 or 13 innings.
And it's probably Kids Day too, right?
No, that's the crazy. It wasn't even Kids Day. Okay. Or I think maybe it was, but it was maybe like 20 kids, 20, 30 kids. Like it wasn't even, it was pretty empty stadium. Yeah, just a grinder of a game. I think everybody got like 6 or 7 at bats. Just, we lost the game on a walk-off.
Oh my God. I was just gonna say in those games, it's like you have to win those games.
Especially for a bus ride coming up after.
So we had already won the series. Like we won the first 2 games, right. And as much as I want to say, yeah, you got to win every game. Once you get to like the 10th, 11th inning of a getaway day game, it kind of turns into somebody score.
Yeah. I get that. I'm just saying in general. Maybe in baseball more, but in general, anytime you go into overtime, extra innings, I do feel like there's always a sense of like, well, if we're going to play this much and play this much extra, like we got to at least win it. This would suck to play this much more and we lose it,
And we lose.
Especially in baseball, you play like a 16-inning game, because I've been in those situations where, it's either getaway day or it's the minors. And if we're being honest, you don't care that much if you win every single game, where you'll be like, okay, just somebody score. But then it'll get into like the 15th inning and you're like, well, now if we're already here, we've already been here for 4-5 hours. Like, yeah, we should win this game.
Especially if you're a reliever too. I don't know how you felt, Bennett, but like if I got in the game extra inning, I don't want to be the one to give it up though.
Right.
So
right.
you know what I mean? Like if we lose later on, fine, but not during my innings.
Yeah. Well, so we were to the point we brought in a tie game. We had our center fielder pitching.
Oh wow.
And a starter and a starting pitcher playing right field. Mm-hmm. Like that's kind of where we were at. So
was the hitter able to swing with the position player pitching, or?
Yeah, they gave him the green light all the way through the at bat.
Tony,
do you guys have the runner on second thing?
No, we don't have the runner on second.
Oh, that would have made it faster, probably.
It would have made it faster. Yeah. How do you guys feel about Brad, how do you feel about the runner on?
I never had to deal with it. So, it's like they say, like giving up a leadoff double, basically. It sucks for the pitcher, they didn't really earn that runner. But for speed of the game purposes, I think in the minors, it's fine. In the big leagues, those games actually do matter. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm kind of on the fence about it. Like as a pitcher, I probably wouldn't like it. I think it is an unearned run, even if you give it up, but you still can get the loss. But, I don't know. It's kind of like giving up a leadoff double. It's not. It's It's not really yours. So
yeah, right. It's hard for me to give like a super strong take on it because I have mainly been a starter my whole life, and it's like I wouldn't have not really had to deal with that type of thing. So, but I think from just like a fan, a baseball perspective, I understand the speeding up, and I think ultimately what you're trying to get rid of is the situation where yes, we're in extras and a position player is coming in to pitch because the team's run out of pitching. Like, no, I think most people have realized no, we should not be playing 16, 17, 18 innings. Like,
yeah, it's crazy, so, and it ruins you for the next day. Yeah.
Right, so I understand, but I like kind of what Brett said, where it's like the idea that, listen, as David knows better than we do, getting on second base is not the easiest thing in the world, so just awarding someone second base, I don't love that.
Yeah.
Does it go runner on second, 1 out or no outs?
No outs, runner on second.
I think, I was gonna say maybe if you coupled it with 1 out, but I guess they're trying to get guys scoring. So.
Yeah, trying to end this.
Well, Ben, we talked about it before. Like I like the rule. Obviously, as a position player, it's easier for me to like it. But I like it. The only part that gets me in the big leagues, they don't do it in the playoffs.
Yeah,
right. And I think that's bullshit.
We agree. That makes no sense.
Yeah, like you can't play the game one way and then say, "Oh no, these games actually matter." Like, I don't know.
I'll tell you a quick little story. Speaking of extras and getaway days, because it just made me think of this. I might have told David this before, but I remember we were in Greensboro, North Carolina, and we were playing. I want to say it was a getaway day, and it went like into extras, 10th or 11th inning. Guy on like second, 2 outs. Fly ball to our center fielder, and he just let it drop to lose the game. He just ran off, and everyone was just like, "What just happened?" Nobody talked about it. Everyone was he played it off a little bit where it wasn't like he just let it drop, but
didn't dive for it.
It was not even a diveable. Well, okay. Like he made it seem like he like lost it, in the lights type of thing. I mean. It was a ball of professional outfielder, and he was a good outfielder. It should make, but it was more. What I just remember was him just the way he ran off, and just the way like nobody addressed it. Like nobody ever talked about it. Nobody said anything. We just packed up and we got on the bus, and we were like, "All right, I guess that's what we're doing." I mean, obviously, I don't remember who was pitching, but I remember the pitcher obviously was not happy because he didn't get a glove on it. And a thing I'll never understand in baseball is why that if you don't get a glove on it, then it's not an error or whatnot. It doesn't make any sense to me. But so he was the one guy that was like, you could have at least like made an error, and just let the run score. But yeah, everyone just kind of like, okay, well, we're going to get on the bus and we're out of here type of thing.
It's messed up, man.
Yeah. I mean, pitchers you guys gotta jump on some grenades sometime. Man.
Well, that's what was so interesting about it is it was messed up. But like I said, like we were kind of like, I get it. I get why you did it type of thing. It's a terrible look. And he obviously didn't play much longer for maybe other reasons. But it was a weird thing of like that was fucked up as a pitcher. That was fucked up. But also, good move, man. Let's get out of here.
Right. I mean, like you talk about like like we had to put a position player in because we had to save our bullpen. It's like a move like that. Yeah, like you want to win every game. You want to save every run for your pitcher. But like, dude, if we can get a loss that like saves us some, some resources moving forward.
Yeah. In hindsight, it would have been better to lose in the 10th inning.
Yeah, especially early in the year too. Like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
No.
I will say, I'll give you the one story, Bennett, that I had that was kind of a wacky play. I was in short seasons in Everett, Washington with the Mariners. And I struck a guy out, dropped third strike. The ball gets away. The catcher airmails the first baseman, so it goes over. So he starts running. Then it goes underneath the right fielder's glove. So the dude ended up getting an inside the park strikeout, basically.
Nice.
It was unbelievable. Weirdest thing that ever happened to me on the field.
Oh man, how many? Did you say how many outs there were in the inning?
I don't remember how many there were.
I was going to say it was like
if it was two.
Outs.
Oh my god!
2 outs. Like, out to get out of the inning. Wait, I just lost the game.
It was in like the third inning, but it was just like this is minor league baseball, short season.
Yeah.
Like, what do you even think about that? Because you got a strikeout. It's an unearned run.
Yeah.
But it's also like, what the fuck is going on behind?
I've never seen that before. Yeah, that should never happen. Obviously, right?
Yeah. I had one I remember in Hudson Valley. It wasn't I didn't strike him out, but it was one of the few times I was relieving. It was in the 9th inning. We were on the road, obviously. Guy got on first. I think I had 2 outs or whatnot. And he stole, and the catcher, not blaming him, but wasn't a great throw to second, got past second baseman. Guy takes off for third. Center fielder overthrows third baseman. They walk us off that way. Yeah, and it was like, I think it was my first year of pro ball, like my first year experience. And it must have been like a weekend night. So the crowd was like going crazy and they were doing all this stuff on the field. And I was like, what just happened? Like, what is this? Like, I was feeling good. I was cruising. I was about to get us inning. We were going to go win it. And all of a sudden, I get the loss and we got walked off, and I don't even know what the fuck just happened.
This is a wild thing I think about, like, especially like the lower levels of minor league baseball, is you have these, like, I remember thinking this in the GCL, like, you have these players, these are still some of the best, like, 17 to 21, 22-year-old players, in the world. Right. And it's like, and there's plays where you're like, my high school team wouldn't do that.
Right.
And it's the craziest thing, just seeing these ultra athletic,
Right. I mean, professionals. They're professionals.
Yeah. Why would the lowest level of professional be worse than college or worse than high school? Like, that should never happen. These guys are getting paid.
Right. But I mean, it's gonna happen. Like, I guarantee you watch, even like probably now you go watch an A-ball game. You're gonna, it's. I don't know.
No, yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know how to. Yeah, I don't even know how to explain it.
Can I ask? This is for both of you, but mainly also for David, because I know during the season that David will tend to watch a little bit more sporting events, especially when the NBA playoffs are going on. Mm-hmm. And was going to ask David and Brett if you guys are following the NBA playoffs or and have takes on it or whatnot.
Loosely following it.
Okay. But more than usual. I'm right in assuming that
more definitely more than this offseason for sure. I saw that the Grizzlies took out the Warriors. Yes. They also beat the Jazz game 1.
Yeah. Without Donovan Mitchell, but yes.
Right. Yeah. I think the big storyline is kind of like you're seeing like the next generation of superstars kind of, I feel like, take over the league, which is cool and a little depressing for me, because I saw the highlights of like Chris Paul and LeBron both like kind of struggle,
the flopping.
I mean,
no, just struggling to get through a game. I feel like that's what he was.
Right.
Like that's
like in particular LeBron, it's I knock on wood. I hope what I think I'm seeing isn't what I'm seeing, but I think we're starting to see LeBron struggle to get on the floor consistently.
Right. That is what you're seeing, because that is inevitable in every great athlete's career.
Yeah,
he's been pretty invincible till now. So
right, and you always kind of wonder how, like, a guy who's so like physically different than people in the league, how that's going to play over time. And he's done an amazing job. Was he year 17 now? you know, with the deep playoff runs and everything of being durable and also being, you know, a force in the league. And I think, you know, it's kind of wild to see, like, yeah, like when he's healthy, he can still do everything that he does. He's just not healthy all the time now.
Right. And, I mean, this is the first time he's really been dealing with this, I feel like, on a
Yeah, he's never. I'm shocked. I think it might even be his 18th year. He's never had a major injury that's like taken him out for a season. He's never missed any time. Like
he had 2 years ago. He had 2 years ago where he missed a period of time.
Oh yeah, with the groin thing, but not like an Achilles or an ACL. Like none of that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's tough, but
father time, man.
Yeah, but no, I think that's a good point about the young guys. Brett, are you a big basketball fan? You watch a lot of basketball? Yeah.
For sure.
We're all tall people. We all get. Do you play basketball?
Basketball is actually it's my favorite sport, honestly. Like I played baseball as a job, and
that's right. We talked about that on your podcast.
We kind of chose it as a career path, but like my passion is basketball, so I definitely watch the playoffs.
Give me a player comp to you really quick before
in basketball.
Yeah, I don't care about baseball.
Yeah, for sure. I know. I don't. I would say in my prime, I was probably like a little bit more I'd say like Kevin Love, but like more defensive oriented also, like could rebound, block shots and all that stuff, but I could shoot it outside a little bit. So I would say kind of a Kevin Love-ish type player.
Okay.
Pau Gasol maybe.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, when you say a really good defensive version of Kevin Love, I'm like, so not Kevin Love.
Yeah, I know. Well, who's another I mean, I don't know. KG would be. I wasn't like a KG.
Yeah, I would say Pau Gasol would probably be more. It sounds like what Pau Gasol, a mix of how he was early in his career and then later in his career, the shooting ability is what it kind of sounds like. Okay,
yeah,
the stretch the floor ability of a big, but
like a stretch four before they had stretch fours back in the day.
Gotcha. Nice. Yeah. Nice. You two both sound like really good. Well, I played pickup ball with Bennett, but so I can confirm Bennett is a guy you want on your pickup basketball team if you have some guys that can score the basketball on their own already on the team.
Right.
Do you, Brett? Have you been able to play any pickup ball lately?
Yeah, before the pandemic, I was playing in like a couple of men's league and stuff like that. So I do enjoy it. It was fun. But once pandemic hit, I like golf too. So I kind of just really started playing a lot of golf. So and I'm not playing baseball anymore. So definitely got the time for it. But yeah, once the pandemic hit, I just started playing a lot of golf. So was everybody else though too. So, but yeah, I do that. That's kind of like my new side hobby, I guess, playing more golf. So, but we'll see if some of these leagues come back. Obviously, once everybody gets back to normal. But no, I enjoy basketball still. Playing and watching it, it's great.
Do you have a team specifically in the NBA, or do you just like
from Southern California? I mean, I'm a Laker guy pretty much forever. But I do like seeing the Clippers lose. That's for sure. Okay. So that was nice.
You have what are your takes on the NBA playoffs so far? Your team's in trouble.
I know, but I just think like this LeBron, Frank Vogel regime with the Lakers, like they usually lose game one if they're going to lose, and then I think they like gentlemen swept Portland last year in the bubble, or they did it with Houston too. Like they lost game one, made their adjustments, and then they won the rest. So I'm not too worried about it. I am a little tired of LeBron flopping. I kind of mentioned earlier, but he's too good to be doing that. Like I don't enjoy watching him just beg for calls. I know a lot. That's kind of the generation now, but like I feel like he should be above that at this point. So
can I make a point about LeBron flopping?
Absolutely.
I like when you're a huge imposing guy like LeBron is, like you don't get calls.
Sure.
So like I mean, like I imagine I never played in any kind of game with LeBron. But I imagine that the guy takes an absolute beating.
Sure.
Right.
Especially going to the basket as much as he does.
He's initiating some of that contact.
Yeah.
100%. I'm just saying some of the flopping, because I think people get this misconception that he's like physically soft. That it hurts him so much that he I think a lot of this has to do with like gamesmanship. Like I need to get my fair share of calls for me to, be an effective player. So I'm going to exaggerate, a lot of this contact. So I don't know. I feel like that's a point that has to be made.
I would say I think one of the issues is that because I think people, their thought process is we know you're not physically soft. We know you're such a strong, physically imposing guy that why are you rolling around on the ground for 2 minutes when you barely got bumped type of thing.
And then he gets back up and he's dunking on people. Like, how do you go from that to the extreme? You know what I mean? Why do you need to do that?
I think he's just, as I think the kids say now, I think he's just a little extra sometimes. Like, I think he just, I'm with you, David, on like, I understand that. And I think that's a lost thing on a lot of people, that you do have to sell it a little bit when you're someone like him and they're trying to be so physical with you. I think he takes it a little bit too far sometimes. Or it's just like for instance, like not even, but the thing he said after he hit the shot against Golden State about like the scene, the 3 rims.
I was annoyed that he said that twice.
It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Stop.
I don't know what he's at. That's what I'm saying. He's at such a level in his career. It's like he's almost playing down to, like, why do you need to do that? Like, we don't need you to give us all these great reasons why all this stuff happened. Like, I don't know why he still does that.
It's just weird because everyone's like, dude, unbelievable shot. Awesome. Like, ready to give you, flowers, basically. And he's like, yeah, and I was seeing 3 rims. It's like, come on, man.
Or like, I don't know if you remember a few years back when they lost to the Warriors and they got crushed. I think it might have been in 5 games when KD was there. The last press conference, he shows up with a cast on his hand. It's like, you weren't wearing that the entire series, and now you got a cast on. It's just like, I think he gets.
Well, I mean, the guy played with a broken hand.
Right.
But now we see the cast. I just the way he does. That's why they call him the drama king. Sometimes, like,
I think he milks it a little bit. I think he milks it a little bit.
Yeah.
I think where David's at and where Brett's at, I'm right in the middle.
Oh, that's
like
fair.
I kind of sway. Like I think he milks it a little bit. So I'm on Brett's side, but I also agree with David. I understand why he does it. I just think he does it a little bit too much sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll say it was hard for me to have, like, it was the weirdest thing in sports because I was a Kobe guy growing up, all about Kobe and, and Shaq and all that stuff. And then LeBron comes over. Yeah. And it's just like, how do I accept a guy that was not his fault, but like kind of a Kobe rival with best player in the league for a while.
Right.
So then he comes to our team and it's like, I still not a huge fan, but I got to root for him. It's weird.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to, because I was a Lakers fan growing up because of Kobe, and I'm now no longer a Lakers fan. Not that I dislike the Lakers.
Oh, wow.
I just like basketball. I'm nowhere near. Yeah, I would say I'm not a Lakers fan anymore. Not just because LeBron came there, but it was like I was only a fan because of Kobe. And when Kobe left, I don't now need to be a Lakers fan anymore.
Sure.
Yeah, and what I mean, and the best player, right? The generational talent, right, went from Michael Jordan to Kobe to LeBron, and Kobe and Michael were I feel like, very similar personality wise, as far as like the tenacity and like they didn't seem like they made a lot of excuses.
Right.
Killer instinct, didn't whine and complain very much. That was kind of how I remember those guys. And LeBron is very much a different type of face of the league, or a different type of generational talent, personality wise.
And I think that's the thing I struggle with LeBron, is that personality wise and the way he talks is so much different, but the way he plays isn't so much different, right? Like he's the whole thing about him, like he is as, tough mentally from a playing standpoint, right? Like he's played 17 years. He's, goes deep runs. I mean, the whole thing with the first championship they lost to the Mavericks when he was, or with the Heat, with the Mavericks, where he was like, oh, he can't close or what. Listen, the guy's clutch, the guy's great, the guy's one of the greatest of all time. Some people consider him the greatest of all time. And he plays like that, right? Like he plays that tough style of like, the same, but like, it's the way he handles himself. It feels like away from the court where people go, oh yeah, he's not Kobe or MJ.
Yeah.
Thing,
I think where people like myself struggle is you see how great he is and you kind of want him to be like Kobe and Michael, but then at the end of games, he always makes the right play, but sometimes the right play isn't giving it to Kyle Korver in the corner. You know what I mean? Like the right play is you're the best player. Like, why can't you do something? You know what I mean? I don't like that he's like, sometimes the right play is just yourself. You're the best player in the league, right? That also bothers me that he defers too much.
Yeah. I'll never forget that that All-Star game when it was him and Kobe were matched up like down the stretch, and
Kobe locked them up.
He ended up passing the ball,
Oh
He
yeah.
ended up passing it off, and Kobe was so pissed.
Yeah.
Like turned around and was like, "You gotta shoot the fucking ball." Like, I remember I got chills watching that because it was like, because there's no reason to be that serious, right? It's like,
it's an all-star game.
That was, if I remember, it was like the last 5 minutes of the game. It was like Kobe was like, "It's me versus LeBron," and LeBron was like, "Oh, we're having fun in an all-star game,"
Right?
You know? And like they asked him about it afterwards, and LeBron was like, "Oh no, like that's nothing. You know, we were just kind of having fun." Kobe's like, "No, that was everything to me," type of thing. And it's like, I mean, that's.
But I think LeBron has made huge strides over the course of his career,
sure,
as far as being the guy taking the shot. Bennett, we've kind of made this point. He's the last guy you want to see take the shot if you're the other team, if the game is tied,
right,
or like up one or something like that, like. He's making that shot, but if it's
he has become a better shooter over the years.
100%. Well, like the way he's developed his game to suit kind of like where he's at, or like where he's at physically, or like what kind of team he has been one of the best things he's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I've seen it a few times and I can't unsee it, and I can't think of a time where I've seen a different scenario where like he knocks down every last second shot in a tie game. Yeah. But if they're down 1 and you need 2, or down 2 and you got to take the 3, I don't know.
I want to say from what I've seen, I think like stats back that up too. Like I think his numbers when they're tied in last second shots is like unbelievable.
Because there's nothing to lose there.
I don't know about
house money.
Right. It is house money. I mean, you could say, listen, you also don't want to go to overtime. It's not like it's a nothing shot. It's still impressive.
Right, but he'll take his chances in overtime versus, you're saying, being
down.
But
it's specifically, but it's not even that he makes it or misses it. He specifically, it seems like when they're down, that's when he's looking to kind of pass it off.
Yeah.
Which you could say, listen, the other team is sending resources there and he's making the right basketball play. Yes, do you want your star taking the shot? Sure. Also, if you have a Kyle Korver and he is open in the corner, that's also a good shot. So, I mean, I can see where he's coming from. It is funny, though. I think if you look at his career, it has kind of worked out that way, where it's like if they're tied or they're up 1 type of thing and he's just trying to ice it type of thing, you're in trouble.
Or he'll take a really deep 3 where it's like, well, he's not supposed to make this anyway, so it's okay.
That was the one lately,
the other day,
last time against the Warriors. Yeah. It was like, clock's running, like no time on the shot clock, no options, just throw it up, and nobody's gonna blame you. Yeah.
All right, moving off the Lakers a little bit. I was watching the Hawks Knicks game the other day, and because me and D-Wash talk about basketball a lot, I mean, we talk about a lot of things a lot. Obviously, that's why we started a podcast. Sure. I do like to sometimes watch guys and be like, I feel like that's a D-Wash guy. I feel like that's someone that David would really like. And correct me if I'm wrong, David, but I feel that way about Trae Young.
Yeah, I haven't had the pleasure of like watching a ton of like full games of Trae Young. It's mostly highlights.
Right. That's mostly his game. So.
Yeah, I love guards. I love flashy guards. Just guys that'll go get a bucket. Trae Young over the last few years has gotten some of my favorite buckets, that I've seen. I saw the clip of him like closing the game out against New York and talking shit to the fans. Right. And I love that.
I just feel like he epitomizes the shoot your shot mentality. I feel.
Oh, he's gonna get his shit off. Huh?
Yeah, he's like, if I'm, he's that if I'm 0 for 20 or I'm 20 for 20, I feel no differently on that 21st shot, and I feel like that's a big D-Wash guy.
Love those guys. Yeah.
When he was coming in the draft, he was kind of like the new age Curry, as you know what I mean? Like similar game, can shoot from deep, but like he's really small. Like Steph's like 6'3", so he's a little bigger than people think. But I think what's crazy it's like he got traded for Luka on draft day. And so the Mavericks kind of it's now that, like you were saying, David, earlier, the new stars are kind of making their way through the playoffs right now. So we'll see if Trae can keep it going. But the Knicks don't have any, like Julius Randle is not a go-to guy. Like, I'm sorry. When he was on the Lakers, I don't know if you watched him Bennett then, but like not a scorer. Not like I didn't even think. I'm shocked how good he's become now. I
got to be honest. I was always a Julius Randle guy.
Oh, really? I didn't see it, man. I thought he was very.
If you're talking big left-handed basketball player, I mean,
like Zach Randolph, that's the comp, right? Like,
I was a huge Zach Randolph guy, right, and then so Julius Randle coming in, I was like, oh, this is baby Zebo, with a little bit more athleticism. And I was a big fan of the pick at that time. I was still a big Lakers fan at that time because Kobe was still on the team. So followed the draft process. Really wanted Julius. I think they were picking like 7 that draft, something like that. So I really wanted Julius Randle. I always thought they kind of gave up on him a little too soon. And I think ultimately I've been proven right. I don't think he's a number 1 on the team, but he has turned into a very good basketball player.
Yeah, he's definitely. I think he might get most improved player or something like that this year, which is deserved. He's definitely turned into like an all-star type.
Like if he was on this Lakers team right now,
be nice. Yeah, but I don't see that's the thing.
I think it'd be more than nice. I think
Brandon Ingram and Lonzo. Do they be? Are they who they are now on the Lakers still with this many veterans that need to win now? Like I don't think Brandon Ingram and Julius Randle are that guy if they're still in the Lakers.
Interesting,
because now they're getting the starter minutes.
Yes, I understand. I felt like Julius Randle. I think the problem is, if I remember correctly, it was like near the end of his tenure with the Lakers was kind of like he's in that kind of awkward phase of he's starting to get better, but he's a free agent. We can't pay him max money. He's not that, but he is worth more than probably what his role on this team would be. So they kind of just had to. I think did they trade him or I think he just left in free agency.
I think they let him go in free agency.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an awkward. And I remember being like, I think they should have found a way to kind of make that work, type of thing. And so I've always been a big Julius Randle guy. That surprises you, David?
Yeah. Well, because coming into the league, I remember thinking like, there's no way. I remember just thinking he's way too one-dimensional.
Yeah. So left-handed, like
super left-handed, not a shooter. Physical specimen, strong, versatile on defense, from what I remember. But yeah, I remember thinking like he's not going to score. Like he's not. He's like I remember thinking in college that he just ran through people for a left-hand layup, and that he wasn't going to be able to do that in the NBA.
Does it strike you as someone that I would like? Someone that just runs through people for a left-handed layup?
Is it because he's lefty Bennett? I forgot. Are you lefty Bennett?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
I'm saying a left-handed basketball player that just plays physicality, almost out of control at times. I'm like, that's the guy I like.
No, I thought you were more the Pau Gasol type, like the finesse, crafty.
First of all, I think Pau Gasol got a bad rep for not being like a physical guy. I think.
Look, you're a big man in the NBA. You are physical to some degree, probably more than any of us would be.
My player comp is obviously closer to Pau Gasol than Julius Randle. I'm not. I'm just saying the type of guys. There is many reasons why. Race is actually the last reason on that list.
Ben, are you a Zion guy? Because big left-handed, power guy.
Specify Zion guy. Do
you like his game? Do you think he can last the way he plays, his size, all that?
I remember. I think I told David, and I remember in that draft said I would take Ja Morant 1 over Zion. I was told that was kind of crazy, partly because of the endurance question and whatnot. And I thought, kind of similar to the points you were bringing up about Julius Randle, I felt like his game was a little one-dimensional.
Yeah,
and that he's an exciting player. I thought he was very similar, like a Blake Griffin, early in his kind of Clippers career. Very exciting, Showtime, box office, all that kind of stuff, and still get you 30. And you can maybe make a case Blake Griffin's a Hall of Famer. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's had a great career, but I was like, I don't think that being your number 1 is going to be as. I'd rather have a guard, a ball handling guy who can make plays himself and get other people involved. So I thought the conversation between Ja Morant and Zion in that draft were closer than people are giving it credit for. And I think Zion's been very good, but I think there's always going to be the durability questions.
Yeah. And he scores all of his points in the paint, which is insane. Like he doesn't really, he's like Ben Simmons. He doesn't really shoot outside and he still makes it happen. So I don't know how long that body's going to last though, the way he plays.
Yeah. Can I get a prediction from both of you? I love D-Wash's predictions on championship, but can I get a championship prediction in the NBA for both of you?
All right, I'll go first. Are we just predicting the championship?
They have to be in the playoffs.
Right. Are we? That's a challenge.
The finals matchup and
the finals matchup, and then pick a winner.
I'll go against all odds Lakers. I'm gonna go Lakers Nets. I don't feel like that's super. I don't feel like that's super controversial, but
No, depends on.
that's kind of. That, I think that's kind of the preseason.
Yeah.
The preseason bet, but I'll go Lakers Nets. I'm gonna just take the Nets. I don't really have a reason. I just kind of like that group a little more.
Yeah, man, that's not a terrible pick. You know,
I was gonna say I have the same thing, man. I think the Lakers might struggle to get there this year. It's not going to be like the bubble where they just ran through everybody. I think they can't shoot. Like they just these other teams shoot threes really well. They can't shoot. I think it will be Lakers Nets, and the Nets will win.
I just think that it's such an interesting Western Conference this year because it's like, okay, everyone healthy, everything. The Lakers are the best team in the West. Right. You could make an argument the Clippers are kind of right there. And you look at the top of the West, and it's really interesting teams. The Jazz were the best team all year. I'm a big Donovan Mitchell guy. A big part of it is Donovan Mitchell. Even with Donovan Mitchell, though, like, you can't confidently pick them over the Lakers, right? And the Suns, I was watching the game, and the reason why I think the Lakers are in trouble is I do think the Suns they're just playing better basketball right now. But it's like young team, first time here, hard to pick them over the Lakers in a series. You start going, to the Nuggets. I know David's always been a big Nuggets guy.
Jokic guy, but Murray's out, right?
Right. So that's what I'm saying. And then you start going, okay, Clippers, but the Clippers don't, look a little uneven. Then you go to the Mavs. Okay, I like Luka, but that's basically all they got. It feels like. I know Porzingis is healthy. I've kind of become somewhat of a Portland Trailblazers fan over the years because Dame's probably my favorite player.
He's awesome.
So part of me wants to pick Portland. It feels like this is kind of their year. This is the best chance they're going to have, type of thing. And then you kind of start going on the list, and I'm like, yeah, it's hard for me to see any of those teams being the Lakers in a 7-game series. But I also don't feel super confident in the Lakers. So I'm gonna go Portland versus the Nets, and I'll go Nets over Portland. I'll switch it up a little bit. And then I want to ask you, as a Lakers fan, Brett, we talked about, I want to say me and D-West talked about this on an early podcast when the bubble playoffs was going on. But let's say hypothetically the Lakers lose to the Suns and the Heat lose to the Bucks, and they're both out in the first round. Does that diminish the Lakers championship from the bubble?
A lot of people will say because the Heat were the 5 seed last year and got to the championship, like that was a little watered down then.
Right. I'm saying specifically this year. Both of them are first round exits.
Yeah. I think the Lakers were healthy last year, and this year they're kind of limping into the playoffs. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's a totally... Does it diminish it? I don't know. The thing is, everyone wants in sports to have a neutral site. This team is better than this team. No advantage at all. And the Lakers and the neutral site in the bubble were the best team by far, right? The Clippers were supposed to be the rival. They didn't even get to the Western Conference Finals. So is it a legitimate championship? That's a great question. I don't know for sure what the answer is. But, yeah, the Heat don't look very good. They just lost by like 30 last night. Right. So
the first game was
first game was
overtime.
Yeah.
Maybe
Milwaukee, back to your, I know I'm kind of going off track, but Milwaukee and Philly look pretty good right now against the Nets in the Eastern Conference Final.
Philly did look better than I was expecting to look. They're also playing the 8th seed in the East, but David, do you think it diminishes if it goes like that? Like all the or just in general, all the teams the Lakers had to go through, to get there, and them playing the Heat and the Heat being balanced. Like, if it were to go that way, do you think that diminishes the bubble playoffs or championship?
I think people will say that. That will definitely be like a narrative that gets pushed out. But I think like there's no such thing as just like a perfect setting where we can tell if one team is just better than another team, right? Like you can only play the people in front of you at the time you play them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's fair to anybody to say like, well, that doesn't count because this situation was, well, that's the only situation they had to play in. Right. So in that case, it's still a very legitimate championship. They had to face the similar obstacles that every other team had to face.
Yeah.
I'll say this, Bennett, real quick. It was kind of the perfect storm. You had the Warriors were out of it, right? Clay and Steph were hurt, so they weren't even in the bubble. KD and Kyrie were hurt. They weren't in the bubble. So he didn't really have to, other than going through Houston and Portland, I think, the Lakers didn't really face anybody. Like I said, Miami's the 5 seed. They didn't see Milwaukee. They didn't see Philly in the final. Like, it was kind of the perfect storm for them to win.
I think most people would have said last year specifically is that the Clippers were their biggest problem to getting to the championship.
They
didn't have to face them. And then I think, I thought ultimately with KD and Kyrie not playing, obviously the Bucks were the 1 seed. I don't even think Philly was in it.
They weren't that good last year.
I think people were like, no, if he's got to go through the MVP and Giannis and the Bucks, like, so I think the fact that it was no Clippers and no Bucks, and then if the teams you had to play instead of them were to be first round exits, I could just see people, every time they go, yeah, LeBron's got 4 championships, but he's got that one. I just think it'll always kind of be brought up because of that. But I'm also, I think the thing I struggle with is that I'm also with David of that. But also they handle the situation better than other people handle the situation. You can only play the teams on your schedule. You can only play the circumstances you're dealt. It'd be one thing if they were the only ones that got, special treatment or something like that. It wasn't that situation. It was a weird situation where there were no fans and stuff like that. But
no travel.
But it was the same circumstances as everyone else. Right. I do think, though, just watching it from the way I'm watching it this year is that, if all these teams that they had to go through to get there, especially if the Lakers get bounced in the first round, they had to play in the play-in game and then get bounced in the first round. And if the Heat were to, let's say, get swept by the Bucks, it's like, obviously last year was kind of a weird thing. And it does not hold as much weight, I feel like, as a normal championship. I do kind of feel that way.
Yeah.
I know that hurts you. I know that hurts you, D.
No, I mean,
I can only be honest. I can only tell you how I feel. It was just a weird
year. It was just a different year.
It's a weird year. But I don't know. I don't think you can take that away from them in any like.
I'm not saying you take the championship away from them. I'm saying it already bothers me that we talk about this, that you talk about the great players and you always talk about how many championships they won. So in basketball, it's a big deal, the number of championships you won. That just on the number alone, I could see people being like, you talk about, Michael's won 6 and, Kobe's won 5 and LeBron, let's say he never wins another one, it's like he won 4, but that one, I just see
3.5.
Always, I just see people always putting that extra on it as opposed to, obviously nobody does that for the other guys type of thing.
Yeah, I wish I was more of a sports buff to try to find like a good team that was around when Michael was playing in the Western Conference that got bounced by the Jazz or something, or it was like, he didn't actually have to face this guy, and
well, so
the team that wins, like the team that wins this year, like say the Lakers get bounced, right? Like and the Nets win it over say the Suns, say the Suns make a run and the Nets beat the Suns in 5,
right?
Right? Are you going to say well, they didn't have to play a healthy Lakers team, so it doesn't count? It's like it's not their fault. The Lakers weren't there.
No, I think that's a great point. And I'm just saying, like, I hate that argument of you didn't have to play this team. I think the what makes it difficult about like the bubble championship is it was such a weird circumstances. You had some teams where some players just didn't even show up, and it was like, it was no fans, and then an arena that you're not used to playing. There was just those factors are kind of more what I'm talking about. I hate the thing. I remember for years it was, I think the Clippers were always like talking shit to the Warriors when they won their championships. You never had to face us. It's like, because you can't take care of your business. Like,
right.
So no, I agree with that. I don't like that argument. I guess I'm not talking so much about that. I think it's more about the unique circumstances of that. Then the following year, the teams that excelled in that are struggling in normal circumstances, that I'd be like, that obviously helped those teams. So it did make it kind of tainted in a way. That's all.
Yeah. It's just always tough when you throw injuries in there too.
Right. For sure. Absolutely.
That's why I hate injuries so much because it makes it impossible to judge. Like, what would happen if this person was healthy? This person was healthy. Right. But it's sports, and that's why it's like team, like, and we always talk about like how much people love arguing about team sports versus individual sports. Because it's always impossible to tell really, really who is the best. It's just what plays out.
Is that what it is? Because it is weird how I feel like most of the sports conversations are always this player versus that player in a team sport, and not as much of this player versus that player in the individual sports.
Because you can find out.
I guess, I mean, you'll hear every once in a while turn on ESPN, they're talking about Tiger versus, Jack Nicklaus or or whatever, or
but it'll never be like who's like in a one-on-one, right? Like,
right. No, but I think in terms of talking about this player is the greatest,
You're
it
saying,
feels like
Dave,
it would be so much easier to have that conversation in a one-on-one on a solo sport than a team sport. Yet the conversation's always on a team sport, and I think part of that is because there is no right answer. So you can kind of say whatever you want to say.
It's all hypothetical, exactly.
Right.
Like Peyton Manning or whatever always gets crushed for his playoff record, but Brady has played with Belichick for 20 years in the NFC or AFC East, and he played against nothing for 20 years in that division and had a free ride to the so.
Then you go, well, what if they change teams? What if this guy went? Right. It's like, you're having the conversation. It's a lot of what ifs.
It is.
It's what if this happened? What if that happened?
Right. It's like,
but those are fun conversations to have, and I take part in all of them.
If the Warriors, the 2017 Warriors, played the '96 Bulls, who would win?
Yeah.
It's like you'll never get that answer. Like it's just.
But those, I guess those are the more fun conversations to have.
Yeah.
Because then there's no way to be wrong.
Yeah. What would happen if my aunt had a dick?
She'd be your uncle.
She would be my uncle.
Yes. Have we confirmed that would be what happens if your aunt had a dick?
Nowadays?
I remember I asked that question. Like, is that okay in the transgender community? I would love an answer on that if anybody from the transgender community listens to our podcast. Please give me feedback on that.
We're trying to learn. We're not saying anything.
Yeah, I don't want to be an asshole saying that. Right. Also, I don't know mechanically or like I don't think mechanically is the right word, but like, but if that is literally how that works, if anybody has had an aunt,
but I still like the saying. I think the saying. I still like it.
It is funny.
So on that note, we're going to transition into something else because I had a special request from our guest that he had this to get off his chest of, I know this is going to be a sharp turn and I know David doesn't like when I do sharp turns, but I thought we could talk about kind of our take on the Tim Tebow situation. Mm-hmm. Obviously just signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars, be a tight end. Recently was with the Mets. I mean, there's people feel very strong about Tim Tebow both ways. I think that's why he's in the news so much is because anytime you're polarizing, that means everyone's paying attention type of thing. So kind of go around and give your takes on that. Or I'll just kind of leave the floor open.
Yeah, I'll start if you want. Go ahead. I would say, and Dave, you probably just because, and I'm thinking more on the baseball side, not just the fact that he got a job again in the NFL, but like I'm on the side of I can't stand that he keeps getting opportunities that I don't think he deserves. Like I'm tired of the Tebow thing. I know in the minors it's to sell tickets and whatnot, but for that guy who hadn't played baseball since high school, never played college baseball, and all of a sudden shows up and he's going to go to Double-A with the Mets, like. Selling tickets or not, big name or not. Me personally, I'm one of those, as a former player, I think he is taking a spot away, especially at Double-A, from someone that could get to the big leagues. If there's no real plan for him to have a future in baseball, I didn't like that he got that opportunity. Like, he didn't go through the grind that we did to get to Double-A. I didn't like that, so that's why. And, of course, now, he hasn't played in the NFL in, 8 years, and he's getting a tight end job. Just why? Why him? Like, he just keeps falling forward almost, like, I don't get it. So that's my take.
I have a two-part take. Or so my initial reaction to him getting the job in baseball, and I feel like I owe it to everybody I told at the time to stick to it, was that if you lose your job to Tim Tebow, then your job wasn't that stable to begin with.
There's politics in sports. I mean,
100%. No, and 100% there, there could have been a guy that lost his job that would have made it to the big leagues otherwise. We'll never know. That was my stance when I was I think I was in AAA, like when he got picked up, and that was sure, it's a little bit of an insensitive stance, but that was it. And I'll admit, being out of affiliate baseball and seeing him in it, kind of challenged that a little bit, where I was like, wait, I can't, I play corner outfield and first base. But again, is what it is. And I still think that the right stance is that, if you couldn't get picked up over Tim Tebow, then I don't know. I don't know if you were there.
My thing is, if it's in low A or short season, fine. Have him sell some tickets to the lower levels, whatever. But to me, double A is like the level where it matters, where you're a prospect now. So I feel like at double A, he is taking a spot from someone that could get a chance at the big league.
And I've heard it said, and I believe it to be true, that everybody in double A is a big league talent. Whether or not they end up in the big leagues or whatever, if you made it to double A, you are a big league caliber player.
Yeah.
So I definitely hear that. The other part of it that I like, and I don't think either of you would disagree with this. I don't know. I haven't said it yet. Is I don't like. I have to make sure for myself that like I'm not mad at Tim Tebow, right? I'm mad at the system that allows Tim Tebow to exist.
Sure.
So like it's not his fault that he says I want to play baseball and someone goes here, come play baseball for us.
Yeah.
He's just chasing his dream, and everybody should aspire to be like that. Also. Yeah. And also just that, like, what goes into sports isn't all talent. It isn't all what you can do on the field. A lot of it is who you are off of it. Especially when you talk about like high profile guys, like, we talk about it. This is controversial, so I'll say it. Talk about like Bryce Harper. I know Bennett doesn't like all of the hype that like Bryce Harper gets. How much, maybe like how big his contract was or is. But part of that, whether you like it or not, is that Bryce Harper is an extremely recognizable name. Last I checked, he was playing a lot better, or swinging it a lot better. But I mean, even if he wasn't a generational talent like we expected him to be, people are still going to buy tickets to see him play, and that's going to go into what you get. People, like you alluded to, Brett, people are going to come and see Tim Tebow play,
right?
And that is, as much as we'd like it to be all about our talent level, that is a big determining factor still when it comes to like who gets jobs. Yeah, so I mean. I don't love that. Like, he's getting opportunities over people that have, that we might think are better suited. But I guess it's just kind of one of those, it is what it is kind of things.
All right,
Benny, you go ahead, and then I'll give another take after.
I was going to say, I want to address a couple things. David is right. I've never bought into the whole Bryce Harper phenomenon. I've never had a problem with his contract or anyone getting any amount of money. I never really have problems with contracts. If you can get the money, get the money. I personally wouldn't give Bryce Harper that because I don't think he is that type of player. But I've never been like upset with a guy signing a big contract. I just didn't like that he was part of the conversation of some of the greats, and I didn't think he's on any of their levels, type of thing.
Okay.
All I'll say. So, and the other thing about how you said about the Tim Tebow thing, of you're going to lose your job to Tim Tebow. I understand what you're saying. I would say ultimately I disagree because I think there's so much politics that go into it. Like you're saying, there is a business, and if they're just trying to sell tickets, they're going to go with him over you, type of thing. And I guess my ultimate point to that is it's not just about getting to the big leagues. Maybe he took a spot from a guy in Double A that wasn't going to get to the big leagues, but still for 5 months has a job in Double A. Like that is still money. It's not much. I don't know his contract situation, but that is, you did take a job from someone that I think deserved it kind of more than you. My issue, I think it's kind of similar to Brett. I saw a tweet someone had of Tim Tebow that it did make me laugh, where it was like Tim Tebow gets treated like a Make-A-Wish kid, where it's like he just he's like, I want to do that, and then everyone goes, okay, let's make that happen, type of thing. And like I don't know, like it just, that part kind of bothers me. I think I sympathize with I hear what you're saying, David, about, well, okay, he's taking a spot from a guy that's probably near the end of the roster that's probably not going to make it, type of thing. And I get that, but I think I sympathize with that guy a little bit more of like, I know that guy of, what his off season's like, his conversations with his family of just trying to make it and not uncertainty. And it's like, and I got bounced for this guy who's never done this before when I've dedicated my entire life to this. Yeah, I would say I have a problem with that.
Yeah, definitely. I'll say this again for the football side. Like,
you guys don't like the Make-A-Wish thing?
No, it was hilarious. We laughed.
I love it.
It seemed like it was more of like, I can't believe you just said that.
No.
I didn't say it. It was somebody else's tweet.
Yeah,
it wasn't me.
You're just quoting it. Yeah. I think he's taken away from Trevor Lawrence, who's the number one pick. Like, hello, this is going to be his now new team, right?
I don't think he's going to make the team.
Well,
so
I'm just saying the shine of it all, right? And you got Urban Meyer's his boy and all that stuff. But this is supposed to be Trevor Lawrence's thing. And what if Trevor Lawrence sucks in the beginning? They're like, we want Tebow, like. They want him to play quarterback again. Like, no, I just think the whole Jacksonville Tebow thing is annoying. Here's another argument I've heard brought up is, well, Michael Jordan played baseball for a little bit too. So you could make that argument that he was able to do it also, but
yeah, I didn't like that either. I didn't like that he took a spot from someone either.
Sure. You could argue that's the same thing. I don't know, but Michael's in another category. So maybe that's why people are okay with it. I don't know. It's just another thought.
Yeah. All right, David, do you have anything more on that, or?
No, I'm glad you set the record straight on the Harper thing because that is an important distinction. But other than that, I hate
when people get on guys for signing contracts or so. It's like
right.
Listen, if you can get your money, get your money. I'm saying if I was the GM of a team, if we're having a conversation of I would have given that to that player, no, probably not. But I've never I can't believe he signed. I'm like, that's awesome for Bryce.
In hindsight, your frustration was always that it seemed to be Mike Trout versus Bryce Harper for who's the best player in the big leagues when it didn't seem really close.
And I got 20, 25, I feel like other position players that I would feel like are more suited for that type of thing. So I think that was always my issue. But I'm sorry.
I was going to say, if you remember, Bennett, Kobe got that huge contract at the end of his career, got paid a lot of money. It's like, well, the organization's giving it to him. It's kind of like a legacy deal.
Right.
Do you fault him for that? He just wanted to finish his career there. He was at the end, but they still paid him.
Yeah, I never have a problem for a guy signing a big contract. I'll give a take based on a cap league or if I think that's good for the team type of thing. But I'm never upset with a guy for signing a big contract.
Yeah, get your money, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pro player when it comes to getting your money. So this is I think a good way to end this episode. Is that I have apparently a new segment to introduce that David doesn't even know about. Apparently we have our first impression that a guest wants to do. We have an impression segment. Maybe I'll pause and I'll play something that our very first impression on Riding the Bus. And we have Brett is going to do Mel Kiper Jr. David, you know who Mel Kiper Jr. is?
That's the football guy, right?
The NFL draft guy. He's got Brett said he has a Mel Kiper Jr. impression that he wants to break out on the podcast, and I said, all right, give it to us. But I said me and David are going to be completely upfront with you of what we think about it, and he's agreed to that. So with that said, Brett, the floor is yours to break it out.
So I always do impressions. I just do them for fun or whatever. So I made it about Bennett's career just for fun. But I don't know. I haven't done this. If this goes well, hopefully it does. I will maybe start doing more of these.
Let's just get to the impression.
Okay, yes, sir. Damn, you're already killing me. All right. Okay.
No pressure.
Yeah. Well, you look at a guy, Bennett Perry, out of Cal State Northridge, left-handed pitcher, 6'6" and a half, 225 and a quarter pounds, big league body, potential upside. Kind of took a flyer on him on the Orioles. He was a 40th round pick, low risk, high reward. Only threw an inning and 2/3 in college. Durability is a concern because he barely pitched. If you blink, you would have missed it. Orioles took a chance on him, played in the minors for a little bit, kind of got pushed out, went to Long Island, played a half a season there, took his talents over to Taiwan. Meanwhile, while he was gone, Long Island Ducks won a championship. A little bit of debate, a little bit of friction there if he deserves a ring or not. We can ask David on the other side, did he contribute to the playoffs or did he contribute to a championship series or not? We're not sure. We can have that debate later. Last I heard from the scouts I talked to, he was throwing bullpens in San Diego. Unofficially, the scouts told me he did strike out David in a batting cage. Unofficially, we'll see if that gets him another job in the big leagues.
Wow. Oh man, yes, wow. Yes.
I got to be honest. Obviously,
That's awesome.
I watch way more because I'm an NFL draft nut of Mel Kiper Jr., so I don't even know how much David's seen of Mel Kiper Jr. I think if you know me, you know I am a straight shooter. I tell you exactly how I feel, and I'm hard to please. But that was very good. I got that was
thank you.
That was very not only entertaining. One, it was very well done. The research and stuff you did, but yeah, it felt like I was listening to Mel Kiper give a breakdown of me. So that was impressive.
Thank you. That was nerve wracking, man. That was my first live impression. So thank you.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, the pressure was.
Yeah, I had to deliver.
Yeah.
You absolutely crushed that. Great job.
Yeah, that was. I think we kind of have to end it there. You know,
that's fine. Whatever. Yeah.
I mean, not that. I mean, we're having a great. I just feel like that. I mean, that's a mic drop right there to me. Unless you have more impressions you want to get. We could stick to our impressions.
I'm ready to do. I mean, I've been trying to work on my Stephen A. little bit.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's. Yeah, it's a tough one. I know. It's a tough one.
All right, let's hear it. Let's go.
Oh no, I don't want to lose you guys if I do that one.
No, man. You know, this is you just hit a walk-off homer. And they're basically saying you can hit again if you want.
Oh, God.
If you'd like to step up there, maybe you hit another one.
Okay, I'll do my Stephen A. if you want it.
Oh boy,
need it.
Here we go.
All right. Let me hold on. What am I going to start with? Okay. All right. You got the Los Angeles Lakers. You got LeBron. It's Anthony Davis. It's Jeannie Buss. It's Dr. Buss and the Lakers. It's Hollywood. It's Lala, Santa Monica, and the crew. And you got him going against Miami, South Beach, Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, and the Rough Rider that is Jimmy Butler going in the playoffs, into the championship. And I can't go because they're in a damn bubble. Go ahead.
I like it. I like it. I think Mel Kiper is definitely above the Stephen A. I think it's also hard. It's also hard. I think I struggle anytime when someone's doing an impression, you know, when because you just have to listen to the voice. You know, it's tough when you can see the person. It's like, they don't look like that person. You know, so it's like that's, you know, I mean, that is part of it type of thing. Yeah. I'm just saying, I mean more like the animations, like the way Stephen A, you know, like kind of moves and stuff like that. No, I think it was good. And listen, you step up to the plate and, you know, putting yourself out there, and I respect that. But definitely Mel Kiper over Stephen A.
Sure. I got to work on it. For sure.
Can I, before we wrap up just about the impressions, I want to say that is probably one of my favorite, like, humorous things that happens in baseball is when, like, a player is tasked with, like, doing an impression of, like, a manager or, like, we had a legend of a field coordinator and Mark DeJean with the Cardinals, and he was this kind of heavy set, like, you know, really loud personality, you know, extra out guy, and we, like, almost every year would have somebody do like an impression of him before, like, a day in camp, or like those are always really, really fun.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys watch Frank Caliendo, but he's like the GOAT.
That's it. Yeah,
like
I unfortunately am, like, set in this like monotone voice that I have, so I'm never able to, like, really do.
There's probably somebody you could do with that, with the way you talk. There's got to be some monotone people that are, you know.
I'm sure there is.
I will say, I don't do impressions. Impressions are very tough. My sister, who is an actress, does a lot of impressions, so I've been around it. And I will say one of the things that I definitely respect, talking about what David's talking about, I play with guys too that do impressions and stuff like that of, you know, coaches, is that doing them around your friends and then being put on the spot and having to do, like, in front of everyone is an extremely difficult thing. So you coming on here, doing it for the podcast, I could see, you know, you were like, this is different. I've been doing it in the mirror, you know, for a while, but this is different stakes. So I just want to say, I respect that, and I think ultimately you crushed it. And I'm not, and I don't just say that to say that. I was kind of, if I'm being completely honest with you, I was looking forward to kind of roasting you after the impression.
I knew it, but I told you, I was like, I think you're gonna like it.
I liked it. I like that. Yeah, that's being down in the game and stepping up and hitting the three to win it. That's what that is.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate you letting me do it. Yeah. Thank you.
On that note, I want to say thanks, Brett, for coming on the podcast. Make sure to check out Brett Lorin. I don't know your personal Instagram page, but check out the Too Tall Sports podcast page. Check out the podcast. Check out hopefully go and follow that page. if you're in a following mood and you're already not following our page, make sure you go to our page and follow, subscribe to the podcast, like, rate, review, do the same thing for Too Tall Sports Podcast. Brett has a lot of, I think one of the reasons we kind of connected is we're obviously similar stories and whatnot. But I think it's fair to say podcasts are a little bit different where, you're talking to people that we would probably never even think to talk to. We talk about like CEOs of companies and different sports things and different stuff. So definitely check out his podcast, Too Tall Sports Podcast. And that's my little
I appreciate it. Love your guys' show, man. And I see you guys got a ton of followers already. I'm trying to catch up to you guys. So I always, anytime you guys want me on, it's awesome. It's a lot of fun. And you guys have definitely more of a fun show. Mine's more interview based, back and forth, and like the stories. But your guys' show is great. So I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that, Brett.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming on. It's been a blast, man.
Yeah.